I think there's no way to operate in one without operating in the other.
I mean, because we're a spirit and
And
a body. We have to do both.
right. So I feel for, as being somebody who went through it, as an individual who was still seeking an understanding of whatever God may be, connecting to God if God exists and whatever God form God wants to exist, while still operating in this plane. And particularly as a kid, a lot of what you come to believe and understand is based off the community you're around.
Absolutely.
And particularly in a community that is riddled with multiple forms of discrimination and isolation.
Mhm.
You leaving for some your religious institution could be you leaving everything you knew and
Yeah.
everyone you knew behind,
Yep. Yeah.
particularly in a place for African Americans. You're leaving everything.
Yeah.
And
Because
that
it's all in one.
difficulty is all in one. Because that, again, there's no way to talk about religion without talking about power structures and their impact. It's so that movement, that trauma, that really, one, it raised in me a sincere sense of desire and want to be a safe place for people, regardless,
Okay.
or even with, yeah. But then also built with me the idea of speaking up and stepping up and calling people hypocrites when they're hypocrites and learning the historical and scientific background behind things. So when they say something in church, I'm like, nah, that's not historically correct. You need to go back and do some more reading.
Yeah. Because
Or
sometimes
in,
people, they've not gone to any Bible college, divinity school, and they're saying what's been
mhm,
repeated. Beliefs that
they're
have been
saying
transferred. Yeah. Yeah.
oral history. And again, knowledge is passed down in multitude of ways. I just don't think people should speak in absolutes if they don't absolutely know.
Correct. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So, what was your what was it like to experience your own deconstruction while you were shepherding others as an associate pastor?
Ooh. So literally for a couple of months, stepped down. I went quiet.
So, what
When these,
happened before the step down?
it was one, seeing the financial hypocrisy of the church, the blatant use of text to manipulate and control, to create a very rigid power structure where the bishops, or as they called themselves, were very controlling of what could and could not be done, how to assist, services, messages that could be spoken or could not be spoken. It was a rigid
Mm,
place. And I saw the damage that it was doing, conversations that could or could not be had, while secretly they were running around wilding.
yeah.
So,
Anything that I've watched, like with cults, and
mhm,
what was it called? There's this one on Netflix. It's called
mm,
Wild Country or something like that.
wild country.
And you've seen that one?
I've heard about it.
It's intense. And
Yeah.
I don't, yeah, it is. And I'm like, and I could see how it can be traumatizing, like giving your family's history, like why you
Hmm.
wouldn't watch it. But I would be curious to know like what your thoughts were and how things started and how it just evolved and turned into this really demonic thing. Like the stuff that was
Hmm.
happening and is a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
starts with small things. And there's another one. It's called Keep Sweet and something or other.
Hmm.
And you see how they did like children and like the sex culture, the sexual immorality that was
Hmm.
like happening and the things they were doing to children and child brides and the
Yep.
businesses that were fronts for like other things and how they took all the classic
All of it.
signs of a cult. Yeah. And it's just like, wow, because it starts out pure, but then people they're too far in, they're too far they're too dependent and they're not tapped into the actual God that this person has
Hmm.
become this, you gotta have a charismatic leader and then the fear. So
Exactly.
they get you in with the charisma. So it's
Hmm.
classic like relationship abuse, but
Yep.
behind religion.
But behind religion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so
It's
you were
but
seeing
that's
these
what
things.
clear as day. Clear as day. So I stopped being a part of the ministry. I would still attend and just listen. And then someone told me, you need to go study, or then study to show thyself approved.
Come on.
Um,
Come
and that at
on.
that time, that would be the term, the phrase I would use. So I
Well,
went
it's
to
scripture.
divinity school.
Well, you would say it's scripture, but it's scripture.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so backing away and then learning not just the history, but then the greatest thing about divinity school is that you were in a pipeline with people who were all dealing with the same thing you were.
Interesting.
You were learning about all the things you did not learn about before, while in the midst of being at various levels of attachment to a certain religious institution. And when you got information that would shake the foundation of everything that you knew, you were in it together. And I would say, God love them. the that community that was built there was really what helped me through, because I
Okay.
knew I wasn't crazy at that point. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I can't be the only one sitting here going through these cognitive dissonant moments, listening to all of these things. So you're going through it too. And they had a particular class that was also, it was like a care class that was proctored by one of the professors, where you could sit and talk about these things
I
and how it's
mean,
going
you
to
needed to
impact.
do that like every week because
It was a weekly class.
okay, and like every
It was-
semester.
yeah, every semester throughout.
Okay.
It was one of the required classes for us to take, because they saw there you can slip into so much anxiety, depression in the life when your entire what you knew is no longer true anymore
Well, and I don't know if it's the
or
entire,
absolute.
but some foundational blocks in there because then that
Yeah.
requires you to look at your parents differently or whoever your caregivers were, the
Yep.
things that they've done, and to have to do that. A lot of people, they just won't versus
Hmm.
really working through that and figuring out picking the meat and throwing away the bones. But because we're also raised with the absolute structure, like our
Exactly.
parents are the end all be all, and
Hmm.
people like the number of people that I work with and have worked with where we have to actually break that down and help them to see their parents as human and not
Exactly.
this figure that they created
Figure.
themselves to be.
Hmm.
It helps a lot, but it's just like they're just a person. They're flawed, and here's where we see it, right? So,
Exactly.
is there empathy there? But like some people don't know how to do it's just too much. It's too
It's
much.
too much.
And
And
then
yeah.
to see them as they are, that's rough. If you can't do it and you're that compliant and you've been manipulated that much on multiple fronts, all those layers of manipulation.
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's all laid in front of you. It's all laid in front of you. But the journey was worth it, because it really allowed me to find value. I stopped looking at any religious institution as an absolute and looked at it as a method of either destroying or supporting humanity
Okay.
in a cycle. And it's has the ability, because it has the buy-in,
Yeah.
and it has the impact because it has
And
the buy-in.
people are compliant. Not a lot of people
Yes.
question it.
Not a lot of, yep, completely. And sometimes questioning it has severe repercussion.
Yeah, you get kicked out of the community and they're there
Or
for
you get
belonging.
killed. Or you get killed.
And there's that.
And I think we have to be real about how this tool has been used currently and historically, and will continue to be used, and its impact that it's had
Unless they
on
miss you.
used, misused, either way it's being used. Because you can look at a lot of religious institutions, not just the Abrahamic ones, where violence and use of coercion has is a piece of it, according to what culture it's attached to.
Yeah.
There's this grand relationship between this is why you see differences in practices of Islam and Christianity or even Hinduism or in the like based on what culture they're in which God, particularly with Hinduism, has prominence in that area or in other. So it's use or misuse is being used. And we have to be very aware of
Yeah.
how this system is being used.
Yeah.
Me, as I deconstructed everything, I found that my use of the idea of God, I want it to be a community builder, something that lifts people up, that gives people hope and courage instead of something that is always over your shoulder telling you you're doing something wrong or an
Yeah, constantly
individual that
correcting. Yeah.
constantly correcting or an individual
Or
that you
really
always have to
critiquing.
please
Critiquing.
critiquing,
Yeah.
right, continuously critiquing is something that you always have to make happy because a lot of that comes from the cultural values and the hierarchies we hold in our families and societies,
Yeah. But a
you
lot
know.
and that comes from also that's human stuff though. That comes from, like, control, patriarchy
Yep.
type stuff. There's so many things and just like how society had been structured historically and the remnants of it that we still see today, where people are trying to maintain that, and you can look at some of it as them really taking it, a little too literal about the husband being the head, right? And then, like,
Mhm.
leading the family, but some people, they take that and make themselves, like, godlike, but
Mhm.
they cut out the part that the man, the head of the household, is led by God,
Mhm.
and I guess it depends on what God people believe.
Which
So
God they
sometimes
attest to.
yep, which God they
Which
attest to,
version.
and then are you really truly though
Mhm.
honoring like God? You know what I'm saying? Like, and are you
No.
living it or are you just like leaving it out? And everybody said, but you do know. You can look at people's fruit. So
Yeah.
even if you know nothing else,
Yeah.
look at their fruit.
Mhm.
I forget which pastor that was talking about being a fruit inspector, and I was like,
Yeah.
"True. It don't matter what people say. What fruit? You can tell me you an apple tree, but it's
Mhm.
watermelons.
Everywhere.
It ain't."
And you can look at something that you can look across belief systems and see there is a continuity of the basic values that are there when it
Yeah,
comes to
human decency.
protecting humans, human decency, and connecting them all. So, like, whether they're connecting to a God or not, they're not connecting to the basic value of human decency. Possibly, you don't need a bigger being to tell you to do that,
You don't
you know? And that's what I learned for myself.
love
Exist
that.
or not exist, I don't know, but I gotta be a good human right now.
Yeah, yeah,
And I gotta love people right now. And I have to not be oppressive towards people right now. And I have to stick up for individuals who are kicked out of families because of their sexuality or gender identity right now. And I have to do these things and create these systems and fight back and box sometimes if I have to right now. And
yeah.
that is where I wish our theology took us to the right now.
I mean, we need all of it
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
if we don't know the past, like they say, we will repeat it.
Right.
And as much as
We'll
that's
repeat
being
it.
said, we still see it. It's like this thing is
Hmm.
a movie and it's just a different cast. You
Every
see, and you just see a different iteration. It's a reload, a reboot, like how we see a lot of movies and things too. And just even thinking about the intersection of trauma, identity, mental health, and all of that, I've also seen where when people don't heal from
hmm
certain traumas and things that they've experienced, you can see their personalities and their identities shaped to align with the trauma
Absolutely.
because they've not done the work or the
It's just another
harm
oppressor. It's another oppressor on them.
and they don't know that they've done it. And you can't tell a
Right.
person that that's what it is. They have to
Mhm.
go on that journey self, right? Of
Yep.
self. And then sometimes there can be a mental health professional that can support you with that. Because a
Mhm.
lot of times, like we as humans, our brains adapt. So like
Mhm.
and for survival. We gonna survive. So think about this. I guess I'll use the example like how you have a person who they are experiencing housing instability, homeless, right?
Mhm.
And so they've been assaulted at some point, like
Mhm.
violated, molested or something, right? So that changes already your brain and how you view
Mhm.
intimacy. But
Mhm.
a person who's like they have no other way to survive and then they start engaging in sex work.
Yeah.
And
That is some stories.
now this is something you did to survive and you've gotten so used to it and you had to
Mm.
adapt to separate from yourself to be
Mhm.
able to do this to survive and it's not how you were. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
trauma changes us and if we don't do the work and we just keep going down that path cuz sometimes
Mhm.
it's too painful to unpack it.
I definitely agree. I definitely concur that trauma can be a major force of change in
Yeah,
how we show up in the world,
absolutely.
and that definitely does need to be impacted. I mean, unpacked it and deconstructed.
Mhm.
But then I think there's also a viewpoint where everything that's not cis heteronormative and the like is due to trauma, and that's completely incorrect.
And I'm not saying that, right? Like that's why I
Yeah.
gave the
No,
example.
that's for the viewers. That's for the viewers.
Okay.
Gotta say that out loud.
Yeah.
Because if you speak it, know it. But like there is so much work, and even the intersection of religious institutions and literally mental health, and how a lot of times we're thought part to people within religious institutions to underutilize mental health services.
There are a lot of
That gotta stop.
listen, I am so blessed. My minister
Yeah.
is a psychologist.
Thank yes. Yeah.
And we are a Bible teaching church. Like
Yeah.
you see it. You know what I'm saying? But you're absolutely right. Like you have to. You're like the third guest that's like, your pastor ain't got no license.
Exactly. They do not. And if they do, they better be incorporating those tools and those skills, and because
Yep. And we do. Yep. And at least and I'm like, I'm blessed. I'm like, child, I don't know what we gonna do later. But I guess when
right?
you know, right? The foundation has been
Mhm.
laid. You've been shown how to feed yourself. Um,
Yeah.
and you can do that and like understand it. Like, cause you shouldn't just be there. You're learning, but maybe it's different brains. Maybe it's because like you see that. Like, cause some people are meant to
Uh-huh.
be teachers.
Right.
And so that's a gift. Cause I was like, you should be learning the structure and breaking it down. I was like, girl, you got a different brain. That ain't everybody. Yeah. So we're kind of getting into that, right? Like the
Mhm.
tension that like are related to like religious influence in society. So where do you see, and you've been hinting at it, I've gotten it clear, like in terms of gender and identity, right? But where do you see this cycle creating harm and where can you see it creating transformation?
So, I love teaching this, and I love talking about this. It's one of my
Right.
favorite subjects.
Okay, teacher to
There's this
teacher.
um, again, there's gonna be, like, any one thing to take away from this, you cannot talk about religion without talking about power structures,
Yeah.
and the necessity of maintaining them, and how religion or how it's seen necessary to, and how religion plays a tool into that. The harm that comes from or that is directed towards the gender nonconforming, trans, non-binary, and the like community is not based off religious norm. It's based off cultural value. And it's based off a system that's built by white Eurocentric individuals that aren't even connected with their own past. Because if you look at them before the Romans took them over, they had multiple genders and multiple understandings of how people can show up in the world. There's this great link, and I'll give it to you. I think it may be in there, but that
Hmm.
literally goes across the expanse of the globe and shows the difference in how gender identity was seen according to civilizations across human civilization
Hmm.
and time. So the first thing is it's ignorance. to think that there's only two ways people can exist: sheer ignorance. And to enforce it is violent because now you're literally telling a multiplicitous being, as we all are, they have to operate in this way. That kind of sounds like slavery. You want to
Uh,
literally at the threat of isolation, exclusion, and sometimes death.
okay. I agree with you on that part. The extreme
So
of taking lives. Yeah.
it is that same mindset of this is how you're supposed to interact in this world. And here is this obscure text that I pulled out of context to justify this. Because we, in our particular civilization in our society at the time, are not comfortable with it. I wish, again, we could find a way to understand what is institutional and what is not.
Yeah. Yeah. So as you were saying that, it made me look up something that I had previously researched because something was said in a sermon and they were talking about, I think they were talking about the centurions and how there were certain ways that Romans, when you have that office or that position,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a Roman man, things that they could do. So I like got busy, like kind of like
Mm-hmm.
looking up stuff. And I was like, where is it in here? Because I'm like, well, I'm getting more curious about that. Like, I don't want to just take what's said. I want to
Mm-hmm.
like understand it. And so they talked about how there were certain things like within Roman society with men where it was normalized for men to have sex with other men. But if
Mm-hmm.
you held that position, it was okay if you were the dominant and not the effeminate man. So even in that culture, even though there was I don't want to call it a practice, but like it was a
That's
yeah,
a
a practice.
practice.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, it is a
Yeah,
practice. There was a
that's a practice.
practice of homosexuality. There was still, I don't know what word I want to use, but there still was
Mm-hmm.
I guess discrimination if you were the quote unquote
A
effeminate man.
binary.
Yeah,
There
okay.
was a binary. Yeah.
So essentially, yeah, that's what they were saying. Like if you, as long as you were the dominant and not having you, I don't even know the language I want to use. 'Cause I'm trying to keep it clean over here.
No,
But
there was a binary of the idea of masculinity and femininity when it came to that form of intercourse that you see replicated in our society today in our understanding of masculinity and femininity. Because we really just copy and pasted everything. But if
because
you look
again,
across the world,
intergenerationally, yeah.
right? If you look across the rest of the world did not operate in that manner. And I think because we are so Western and Eurocentric, we're stuck there. One of the greatest lessons I learned, divinity school and beyond, is that the West is such a new and small point of view in comparison to all the ones that exist across the world. Go learn the other thing. Go learn about the things that existed before the Roman Empire existed, or before Christianity was even a thought, before Judaism existed, before Islam existed. Learn about traditional religions or African traditional religions. Learn about Shango. Learn about, like South America. Like what? There's so much more that we can build our lives off of than this construct right here, right now.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's the beauty of being human.
So I think I get what you're saying maybe when you were saying about it being slavery, like slavery, where excuse
Mhm.
me, it's mental too,
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's a mindset. And some
Mm.
people, they can't even go to other places and explore without feeling like they're doing something wrong. But if you know what you know and you know your beliefs, right? Like
Mhm.
you know your beliefs and you can say, okay, that's different, but I see that. Or that
Mhm.
seems like that particular thing that's a beneficial practice without having to change your whole religion, right? Like
Absolutely.
that's good for human society. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's a good way to treat people. Like I appreciate
Right.
that. So because at the end of the day, we're all connected. We're
Mhm.
all connected. And
Yes.
so there's values and benefits. And even like you said, there are, if you get to the core,
Mhm.
There are some kind of universal things. Now, how they go about it, the reasons for why they're doing some of their other practices, that's
Mhm.
when it's like, okay, nah, I'm good on that.
Right.
Like I don't
Right.
have to do all that, but that, okay, cool. But that
Yeah.
doesn't change what I believe. But some people, they are too afraid to even consider anything else. Not even consider, but just like hear it. You don't have to
Yeah.
believe it.
Fathom it.
Listening does
But
not
know
mean
it
you believe
exists.
it. Yeah.
I teach online to universities, and one of my courses particularly talk about gender and sexuality, one of my modules. And I had a student who came and was like, I don't want to learn this. It was against my belief. And I was like, now
I
I
already know
laughed out
you ate
loud,
them up because that just saying, so you're saying that gender and sexuality is against your beliefs. So you are
learning.
against your beliefs, but this is kind of what you're getting at, like where they don't talk about it.
They don't talk about it. So what I said to them very, very scholarly was, well, the beauty of higher education is that it's meant to open and expand your mind beyond what you've learned in your particular region of the United States.
And
That's
for
why it's
you to
called
take your
higher.
own interpretation of
Yes,
it. It's not meant to
exactly.
like reprogram you or change you, but
Damn
like
you.
it
It's meant to
will.
introduce you. It's
And
meant to introduce
you
you to things, and you
go through
work
the
with it how you
scholarly
need to.
process. Yes.
Exactly.
Because
And
there's
I
a
was
lot
like,
of
so
stuff
please
that I was
just,
like, "Okay, learned it, next."
yeah. What is that? That's my roommate. He said, don't take back Jesus. He also went to divinity school. Shout out Dr. Antonio Ellis. Oh my goodness.
Your
But
friend Tony. I remember Tony.
yeah,
Okay, I
Dr.
remember
Ellis.
Tony.
Yeah.
Yeah.
HU all day.
You know.
Mm. But it's one of those where we can, well, kind of rewinding in what I made the slavery or like the control type metaphor or
Mhm.
comparison, you see it happening now where they're literally trying to delete from history books certain things so that people
Yeah,
don't learn about them.
yeah.
It
For control and manipulation.
control manipulations and religious institutions cannot be complicit in that, even if it benefits them.
Correct. I was gonna say, no, that just made me think of a point that was brought to my attention
Mm-hmm.
about the number of our political leaders are believers and yet they're supporting things that are not pro-human, that are not of the beliefs that they profess to have.
It sounds like colonization all over again.
Yeah, that. But man, this is a whole other, like, this goes deeper because you're talking about the dissonance. It's almost like they have a
Yeah,
split identity.
yeah. Or they use their version of the belief to support their identity. Like
But it
manifest destiny. God told us to go take over this whole nation and to save these people and create one foundation. Some of it, I wish it was cognitive dissonance for some. For others,
It's
it
just
might
that
not be.
it's not. And then I can see how they probably try to do that and pull that from the Bible because there were times where God told people, go in, do this, get rid of all the animals, all the people, all the kids, leave
Hmm.
nothing behind. And Saul was hard headed and didn't do it. But so there were
Yeah.
times where that happened, but like
Ah,
again,
I'll say it like this.
this is where we gotta look at people's fruit. We gotta look at
Exactly.
their fruit.
Got to look at their fruit. And I'll say there are some individuals who are very Old Testament when it comes to maintaining their own power,
Yeah,
but very
but
N- but very New Testament when it comes to wanting forgiveness and grace.
yeah, yeah. You're right. So they're using it to their whims, but again, they're gonna have to answer for that when that time comes because you cannot
Yeah,
play with God or his people.
right.
You
Well, I hope
cannot.
that time comes soon because they be playing for too
Listen,
long.
every generation be like this the end of time, but the Bible also say, well, no one will know when. We don't know the time, the minute, the hour, the day, we don't know. And they were saying the
Not at
rapture
all.
was several Tuesdays ago, but like based
No,
on what? We would never know.
based on.
We'll never know. We'll know. We'll all find out at the same time.
Mm-hmm. So
So even as you've shifted away from like a traditional Christian identity, what
Mhm.
pieces of like that foundational faith or like that
Mm.
religion, that identity are still do you still carry with you?
Ooh, I still love gospel music.
Okay. I'll take the
Come
music.
on.
That's part of the culture, but I mean,
Come on. That's it.
you talking
I
about
love no, I'm
human
playing. I'm
decency
playing.
and human behavior.
I still, the, it's part of the culture, particularly African American, but also Hillsong Unite. I love the idea. I am enamored with the idea of people passionately and artistically talking about something that impacts them.
Mhm.
That, like, that's why we love songs. That's why we love all these different. Some people love the heavy metal rock and roll, destroy it all. Like it's really impacting me. Like I will still listen to Melodies from Heaven or Now Behold the Lamb and go in.
Mhm.
Like it's like, huh. But it also has that resonance with me of forgiveness and having something that is possibly greater than you there to support you and be there for you. Um, from my old, I definitely have taken the idea of being in service to people and
Mhm.
being that person that can be there to help. I have taken with me the concept of human decency and love, but I have also taken with me something that I feel a lot of institutions need to focus more on, which is the idea of humility.
Still think you have
I have
justice
all,
in there because you've been talking about
yeah,
justice, whether you
justice the whole
call it that
time.
or not.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Justice, all of those things I've taken, but that justice, to be honest, that didn't come from the Christian background.
So it did, but it didn't. Because or okay. Well, I guess we could say it was in you
Mm.
because you saw the injustice happening. So it
Right.
came out of it because you knew it was wrong because that what you were being taught and then what you saw.
Mhm. Yeah. But that I learned more about justice from the schools that I went to as a kid
Okay.
than I did in the
Okay.
churches that I went to. Because that's where
Okay.
I met multitudes of people from different ideologies and different places and understood that you deserve the same stuff I do. We're sitting here in class playing together. Why
Absolutely.
can't I come to your birthday party?
Yeah.
Aren't we both Christian? Don't your parents go to church? Oh, it's not. This
But
has
those
nothing to
are
do with what we
all
believe.
and those are all things that people are taught,
Yeah,
indoctrinated with. Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah, but from the
Yeah.
church, so I really took the idea of sacrifice, consistency, honoring
Mhm.
humanity, being a voice for change, and being a force to help protect people who are the downtrodden. What do they say? The widows, all those individuals.
Yeah.
I
Widows and
would say the
orphans.
main, but widows and orphans. I'm gonna add the trans, the everybody who is a target
Yeah, I was gonna
because of.
say
Hey, you listen.
marginalized and
The
oppressed groups. Yeah.
underrepresented, all of them.
Yep.
But humility was one of the largest things that I took. And I think humility screams in when you actually, if you focus just on the narrative about Jesus' life, Jesus was extremely humble.
Yeah.
And I don't think that enough people in leadership, particularly when they get high up in institutions, whether they be religious, political, or economic, remember that humility is beyond a key. It is necessary.
That's good. Yeah, because you see them acting more like the Pharisees and Sadducees once they hit a certain place. Yeah, and they don't wanna
Mhm.
give up that position, the influence, the power. Yeah.
And you don't need a jet. It's like, but anyway, I'm not gonna go there.
But
Right?
that's the thing, like, when we
Mhm.
get hung up on people,
Mhm.
that is a powerful tool for spiritual divisiveness. They have
Yep.
to answer for their own actions and
Yep.
behaviors and choices. Like they have to answer for that. I'm not saying that I'm okay with it, but I'm not going to allow
Mhm.
that to put distance between me and God.
And I think
And
there is.
Jesus. So here's the other part, right? Jesus
Yeah,
had
yeah.
Judas in his camp. You don't think we're not gonna see iterations of Judas every
Well,
generation? You know what I'm saying? We're gonna see it.
absolutely. I think we're going to see iterations of all the figures that existed within the stories that has made up the Christian religion.
Yeah.
I also believe that there is it is almost impossible to expect individuals to separate the human representation of these religious structures with their own relationship. I think they're so intertwined.
Mhm.
They're so intertwined. That's why we have to hold, like, not just religious leaders, but leaders of any institution accountable. We have to, because you are the representation of it. It
Yeah.
goes with, it goes with the Catholic Church and their history of abuse.
Yeah.
Y'all haven't held these people accountable. And you're supposed to be the representation of this thing. Same thing
That's the
within
system.
Protestantism.
The
It's
system.
the system. So it's like it's great to have your own personal relationship. I remember I said this to a group of pastors one time. I was like, y'all gonna stop making my Jesus look bad because y'all making him look horrible to the point where people don't even want to recognize that Jesus could have existed. Historically, Jesus did exist. There were also multiple Jesus. Anyway, history. I love it. But the one in particular that we, you know, bring to the forefront, y'all making the story and the heart and the soul of this thing look bad. And
Mhm.
you're pushing people away. If you truly believe that this is entity, this being, this story is true, you're doing everything to make it look like a lie. And you should be held
You're working
accountable for that.
against it. Yeah, you're work and they
You're
will.
working
You're
against it.
working
And they
against
will.
it. And then you even saying that, that is a form of accountability. Let a man
Right.
examine himself, right? Like they need
Right.
to, but also we're supposed to hold each other accountable. We're supposed to do that when
Mm-hmm.
we see people acting, make it look Jesus look bad, like you said.
Look
When we
back.
see people, yeah, when we see that, right?
How you got a jet, but everybody in your congregation poor? It's crazy. It makes no sense.
But I'm a listen. We check the fruit,
Uh-huh.
and if the
Mm,
fruit don't match the tree,
yeah, that's a problem.
not only is it a problem, but you got a decision to make because they can only keep having a jet if
If
you
you keep tithing, unless they make a deal with McDonald's and put a McDonald's in the church and then turn it into a LLC, but that's a whole nother
now. I don't
the
necessarily
institution,
have
the institution.
a issue with
Hmm.
business. It shouldn't come
Hmm.
into the religion. Like the church is the people. The building,
Colonization was a business. It definitely came into the religion.
right? But that don't mean that. But
Come
McDonald's
on,
ain't enslaving people. Okay, so
here,
I'm not throwing it all away. I'm not throwing the baby out with the
right?
bathwater.
Give the
It just
bathwater.
really
I get
depends
you.
on how you're doing it and what you're
Right.
doing. And I've seen it done responsibly, where
There you
within the
go.
church, there's a daycare, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily for members. This is a community member that has a
Community daycare.
business in there,
Right.
but it's doing good for the children, a safe space, a dance studio where they can come use that and
Yeah.
teach, and they have accessible space to do these things. Hair salon in there, but like
Mm-hmm.
it's not anything that's pushing members. Put your kids in his daycare. Put your kids
Right.
in his dance class. Like it's not. It's separate
Right.
entities, but within the building. So like if you
Yeah.
own a commercial property and you like the
You
church
can use it
owns the commercial
commercially.
property. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. So I get that
Mhm.
part of it, right? Like, but there
Right.
are people that are just greedy and then they do it in a
Mhm.
way and try to cover it up like it's something else that is not. Now,
Right.
I'm not against pastors having nice things. Pastors got
Not at all.
jobs, pastors be writing books. They
Families.
go on
Yeah.
speaking tours. They do all these things where
Yes.
they make money that it's not the church's money.
I
But
concur.
when you see the people like that recent incident where he was like, lock the doors, don't let them go out, or there was another one where somebody was saying
Mhm.
something about them not tithing enough, like you should be in the 1,200 bracket or whatever like their amount was, and I'm like, that's crazy.
It's insane.
Yeah, and so I don't get caught up in that, but I also have never attended a mega church, And some people,
Yeah.
that's all that they know, and like the
Hmm.
structures and all of the things that are at place and play. It's just, that's a lot.
And I think those are those points of accountability. Again, you cannot talk about religion without talking about power structures. We have
Yeah.
to be accountable to it.
Yeah.
And it's I am in my own form of belief, and I am a full supporter that I believe everybody should believe in something.
You have
Have
to,
something
because
to attach
then
to.
you're floating, but now you can still be
Yeah.
attached to you can be
To the
attached to
wrong thing.
Satan. You can be
Yeah,
attached to
you can do the
Satan
wrong
and
thing.
go real
And
hard for
Satan,
Satan, for the kingdom of darkness. You
yeah.
can.
And Satan can look like any and everything.
Angel. It is it
Yeah,
he can look like an angel, but he's not. But
yeah,
he used to be.
yeah. It can look like a religious institution. It
It
can look
can.
like a political power. It can look like so many things. I encourage people to be discerning
Yes.
of what they believe and why they believe what they believe,
Yeah.
and don't just, "Oh, it just is what it is."
Yeah. Copy
Be-
paste.
be-
Repeat.
Yeah, because that is the pacification,
Yeah.
particularly for the African American community, that they wanted from us.
And that's how the religious manipulation, the cult communities form.
Hmm.
And so
They
it's like
pacified.
people, they I'm like, listen, my words is slipping. They are what's the word? When you take it, I'll say it, they're taking advantage of
Hmm.
the fact that we are designed to worship. We're supposed to worship, right? And so if I can get you to think it's me, and you to move that those practices, those beliefs that put me in that position, if I can get you to idolize
Right,
me,
right.
great. But they definitely take advantage of it. They violate it and they
Hmm.
twist it. And that's how it
Hmm.
happens, but they'll have to answer for that.
Yeah. Hopefully they answer right now. I'm
But
not
see, and see,
I'm
that's
not
the
this when
thing.
they die person.
That's
I'm
the
not this
hard
when
part.
they die. I want them to
But
answer
see,
now because
I
they're
know,
hurting
but
people now.
that's not how
Is
it
it not?
works.
Does it
That's not
not?
how it
It worked like
works.
that in Nepal when they threw over the government. It worked like that in so many other places.
But it's
Now
not
it can
I'm
work in that
saying,
way.
yes, but I'm saying that's not the standard. That's not what always happens. Does it?
Name a time when
Yeah,
a
people
revolution
rise
hasn't
up.
happened. It can happen. You
I'm
know
not
that, and I know
saying,
that.
but I'm not saying it can't, but I'm just saying that's not how it works. Period. It's not a well, yeah, because a principle is a principle. It don't change.
Hmm.
That's not a
Yeah,
principle. But
it is. I'm not one of these. They'll get it in the afterlife. No, they get it now because they're
I hear
hurting
you.
people now.
I get it. I'm not saying they not gonna get
I'm
it.
the flip the table Jesus. That's
Jesus didn't
the what.
always flip the table. He flipped it when it was appropriate.
But I'm
I'm
with that,
okay, so
and it's appropriate.
I'm trying to move you from the binary, okay? And do it we do it when it's appropriate. Sometimes you do gotta flip the table. Other times we
Hey,
turn in the other
yeah,
cheek, and then other times we're
see,
turning the other
right?
cheek. But people get
Yo,
what's coming for them. They do. They absolutely will. And that, I think, is you're getting to a very important struggle that I think we have generally,
yeah,
regardless of what you believe. Like,
right.
when we see injustice, when we see people are hurt, we want
Hmm.
somebody to pay. We want people to be accountable. And
Right,
sometimes we
right.
don't always get to see that. And so
Absolutely.
a thing that just came to mind is like,
Mhm.
God is like HR. When you go report somebody, and listen, you maybe you know where I'm going with this. When you
Uh-huh.
go file a complaint at HR, you don't always know what happens to the person. You just
Right.
know you filed the complaint. Sometimes the person
Mhm.
leave the company. Sometimes you see them there working. You don't see the behavior anymore, but you don't get say and how they're
Right.
held accountable. And so them
Yes, we
just
do.
being
That's why
there
we have laws. That's how
sometimes.
religious institutions have
Hey,
laws.
hey, I'm going with my HR. I'm going with the HR
Come on.
metaphor. I'm gonna
There's
finish
laws.
it.
We set them.
I'm gonna
We
finish
set
it.
'em.
So you don't always know what
Yeah.
happens, how it happens, what's happening behind the scenes, but it could look
Correct.
like a
Yes.
person is intact and untouched and nothing has happened because it didn't
Hmm.
meet the level of which we wanted to see the consequences. And
I
so
agree.
that's what I mean. And so, like, where God is doing it, like, we don't always get to see it, we
Hmm.
don't always get to know. And God will do some stuff. What was that in the Bible that was married to
Hmm.
Abigail? That man that was a fool. They literally called him a fool.
Yeah, I know.
David married the woman after he died, where basically it was like like he like basically had a heart attack or like a stroke or something and like died. Because he was playing games. And
You
David
know,
was
wait
about
a
to
minute.
go kill him.
Are you talking about the one that David sent to the front line so he could get him killed so he could
No,
get his
no.
wife? You're not talking about that one? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. 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 He had a lot of wives now. That's crazy. It sounds familiar. Yeah.
Nay something. Let me see. Who was Abigail married to in the Bible before David asked her to be his wife? Let me see, because I can't remember. His name is Nay something.
Mhm. Mhm. Nathaniel?
No.
No, because that was his advisor,
Nabal. I was
Nabal.
there. Yeah,
Okay.
Nabal. Yeah, because he was just wilding. He was wilding, and he tried to. They were like, I think they were like distant cousins. He tried to play David like he didn't know who he
Mhm.
was when he sent his people to ask for food. He's like, we've been out here watching the sheep and guarding all of this.
Yeah.
Like, just send us send us some stuff to eat. They said no. Boy, David was so mad. David pulled up. Abigail intercepted when the word got back. She went out there, was like,
Mhm.
David, don't do it here. We done bought your wine, we done bought your bread, all the stuff. I'm a storyteller, right?
Right.
And
Right,
so
right.
she stopped it, but also David wasn't touch enough of God was just like, you know what? Because that anger and that pride revved
Mhm.
up.
Yeah.
And he was like, I don't
Yeah,
need to
yeah.
have this blood on my hand. And God, boom, took care of it.
Mhm.
Yes, David found out about it. Everyone found out about it, but like God did it. So just saying that to say there are times, Chris, I believe when we are to act, right? And God tells us when and how to act, like when to activate, like, and we faith and
Mhm.
works, we do have to do things. And then there are other
I agree.
times where you do have to let things play out and that it will happen how it happens and that God has
Yeah.
people, situations, things in place, miracles, nothing that we can understand. But
I
yeah,
agree.
yeah.
I do
I
agree.
know you do, but you like to
As long as
just
we're not
challenge
pacified.
and
No,
yeah, but no, I don't
not
mean
even
it
just
in
a
a bad
challenge.
way. I don't mean
No, I
challenging in a
mean, not
bad
even
way. You
I
like
know,
the
not even just a challenge.
scholarly
I
discussion.
mean that, but we spoke about earlier how colonized theology and the way it was impressed upon us was to pacify.
Yeah.
So I hear a lot of, "Oh, God will take care of it." No, you take care of it. Your
There's
kids
both.
getting abused by your
You're supposed to
stepdad.
take action. Yes.
So
You
there's
stop
this. I
it.
think there's
And
this.
that's the middle. That's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
You
That's
don't
the
just
middle
sit
ground.
back and watch
No,
something wrong happen and not do anything. So you're talking about a
but
different
I think a
extreme.
lot of times we still do, and I think we
Okay.
need to be pushed on that as well.
Okay. Because
Uh,
the way it was, or I was hearing it or
yeah,
interpreting it
yeah.
was more, I don't want to say the word militant, but
Not at all.
like, I know that's not what you're saying. Like now as we're
Yeah,
getting more through, but someone could interpret it that like, nah, we going today. We finna do this now. Like, you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
that.
Yeah, no.
I don't know the
Mhm.
word that I want to use, what adjective
Yeah,
I want to put with that, but you get the spirit of it, right? Like,
yeah, I get it.
and then there's some people they are really rebels without cause. So if they
And
just
they
get
just go
into
burn
some,
everything.
yes,
Yeah,
and those are the people we have to be
right,
careful of because you want to
right,
go send a
exactly.
message, and they was like, nah, plans change.
I agree. I concur.
All right, so
Yeah.
clearly we can talk on and on. In your opinion, what does liberation, that's spiritual, social, emotional, psychological, all of the types of liberation, what does that look like on the other side of colonization and trauma?
It looks like when we can first acknowledge that colonization and trauma has and had a significant impact on billions of people. Acknowledge that the systems that are currently built are still applicable and still making waves. And it comes when we take that acknowledgement and purposely work to shift
Mhm.
and account for those impacts instead
Okay.
of writing them off. It looks like, I want to say something. It looks like the idea of equity and justice and diversity and inclusion not being something that's for discussion. It's just what we do. It looks like accountability. And it looks like ultimately people knowing that they have support even in different. And that's trying to control how people want to show up in the world as long as they're not doing harm to somebody else.
That's good. Yeah. Thank you for that. Thank you. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
That was good. So, if you could
Yeah.
leave the audience with one powerful truth to help them to rise and thrive, what would it be?
How you choose to operate and what you believe in is up to you. But always recognize that with belief, there are systems of power. Be accountable to that. Don't manipulate it. And just be loving. That's really all we need.
Oh, thank you for being vulnerable and speaking your truth and beliefs.
It
All
was
right.
always a pleasure talking to you.
Absolutely. Okay, audience. Well, this is where we transition to you. Today, I want you to take a moment and reflect. What area of your life do you need to ask more questions, seek truth, or find your own path towards healing? And then to take action, I want you to think about what beliefs do you hold that come more from control than freedom? And then take one step to sort through that, whether that looks like journaling, speaking with someone you trust, it could be a therapist, or just giving yourself permission to be curious. And finally, leaving you all with an affirmation. I have permission to ask. I have permission to grow. I am free to rise and thrive. So, if this episode blessed you, I want to encourage you to share it with someone who you believe could benefit from this conversation and leave us comments. Join in the conversation. Let us know what you think about what's been said here, what's been explored. Also, if it's blessing you, please leave us with a positive review wherever you're taking your podcast. That'll help this platform to grow and reach more people. And also, subscribe. Also, know that you can check out the merch on www.evolveadrjnicole.com. And I want to say a special thanks again to our special guest, Dr. Christopher N. Smith, for joining us today. And as always, keep rising in faith and thriving in purpose. I'll see you next week.